So we're going to look at the basic arcade format. How is this laid out? What's the syntax of the code that you would be writing or the expression that you'll be making? These can include variables. Variables must be defined using a var statement, VAR. Then you give it the name of the variable, in my example, new variable, an equal sign, and then whatever you want this variable to be equal to. And I did a little text string in quotes called value. That can be a string, it can be a number, it can be a feature or value of a feature, it can be a set of features, an array, a dictionary. There's a lot of things that variable can be, and Arcade will figure this out on the fly. You don't have to pre-declare what your variable type is. It just kind of knows. The names are not case sensitive, although I used the lowercase new and a capital V variable. That's just an old programmer thing from the olden days. It's a habit I got into, but you don't have to do it that way. You can name those anything that you like. They're not case sensitive. They cannot have any special character, so no slashes or dashes or pound signs, anything like that. And you can't use any of the reserved names like area or shape. It would come back on you for that. Then you can use these variables in any of the arcade functions just by typing their name. So you don't have to have any special prefixes or anything like that. You would just say, like if I were going to round off a number, I would do round and in parentheses, just type the variable name. And then finally, within this syntax, you will send a value back to the calling operation with a return statement. So if this is to set symbology, you're trying to return a single value, you would say return and then the value that you're trying to send back. Or if you're trying to calculate a value into a field, then you would say return and the value you're trying to store in that field. And it's just return, and in this case I use new variable. The return statement is the last line of the expression, and in fact you don't even have to put the word return on it. The last line is always the return statement, so it would function even without the word return in that. Now I'm going to move over to the arcade playground, sandbox, forget what they call it, but we're going to look in there and try out a few things. Okay, so here's the arcade playground, and I'll put the link to this in the description of the video. And let's just fool around in here a little bit. First thing I want to do is make a variable. So I'm going to do var, I'm going to call it new value equals, and since this is going to be a number, I don't have to put it in quotes or anything, 34.56789, let's just call it that. And then I'm going to do a return statement, RET. Now, it's finding all the functions that start with the R, RET, return. I can just click it here or press the tab button, and it'll finish typing that for me. And I'm going to return new value. And see, it's even finding the variables that I defined. There's new value right there. And I'll click it. And let me click run. And it returns as a number 34.56789. Okay, so that works pretty good. Let me say I wanted to round that number off. I'm going to use a round statement. And I'm just going to put it right here in the variable. Round and an open parenthesis, 34.56789, a comma, and I'm going to round it to 2 places past the decimal, and that's all that's going to need. I'll hit run, 34.57, it rounded it up. Now watch this, I'm going to take the return statement off. Now this is interesting, I accidentally did this, but it points out something really fun. I defined a variable called new value, and if I highlight over new value, it says new value is assigned, but it's never used. So that can help streamline my code. If I define a bunch of stuff, and in the end I wind up not using it, I can identify those values that were not, those variables that were never used. I could take those out. But down here I've also started typing EW value, and it says EW value is not defined. So I know that there's an issue there. I actually just deleted too much, but what the heck. So I'm going to take the return statement off. If I click run now, I get the same thing. Now, here's something else. I didn't actually have to do the variable at all. If all I'm doing is a very simple statement like this, I don't need to define it as a variable. I could just run this and I get the same value. This is not real exciting because the value doesn't change, but at least I'm not getting an error. Let me get an error. I'm going to put an M there. Now watch it give an error. Oh, yeah. Can't do that. Identifier not recognized. Verify your data. So I gave it incorrect input. Let's try that again. Okay. So I can just do that straight out. Now, let's say that I wanted to get a value from this layer, from the attribute table of this layer. I can come over here under profile variables. Profile variables are variables of things that are in this profile. And in this profile is features, and this would be the feature that's currently selected. So I then click the little over arrow, and these are all the fields that are in this attribute table. And you'll see they're listed by both the field name and the field description. And in this example, the field name and the descriptions happens to be the same. But let's say I wanted to get the population, and I'm going to round that to 2 decimal places. So it does $feature dot. It typed that for me automatically. The word population, which was the name of the field, and then a comma and 2. That's how many places I'm rounding that to. Let's run it. And I got 9355508. So apparently it was a whole number, I think, so it didn't really round it. But it did show the number. If I was not sure, or I didn't want to use the profile over here, I could do this. I'm going to do round and parenthesis. And notice it added the open and close parenthesis. Let me go back and do that again. Okay, it gives me the option to do feature, so I can do it from right here. Read more. I'm going to do tab to accept feature. I'm going to type a dot, and it said, oh, you must be looking for a field within that feature. So it shows me the fields in that feature, and I'm going to click population. So I can find it that way too. And I'm going to type that again. Round, open parenthesis, $F, it got feature, so I'll hit tab. A period, it found the fields within that feature, population, and I'll run it. Same value, so it didn't change anything down here. All right, so that's a quick way to kind of work your way through that. Now, let me set this again to a variable. So var new value equals. Okay, and again, it's telling me, hey, look, you defined new value, but you never used it. We'll use it here in a minute. And then I'm going to do return again. NEW new value. Let it finish. Again, same value. It didn't really change or anything. Now, if I wanted to put some additional things on that, like let's say I wanted to add some text to this to say the population of this city is. So I would say, in fact, I think I had a feature called location. So I'm going to say, in quotes, the population of, and then I concatenate with just a plus sign. And I'm going to get that the feature called location. So $FEA got feature dot location. I'm going to click it with my mouse, location, plus I'll add the word is and a colon, plus, and the rounded number. So I'll get the population of whatever feature name it pulls, location name it pulls out of the attribute table is, and it'll give me that number. Returns new value. In fact, let's do this again. I'll take return statement off, run. The population of Fort Worth, Texas is, it's like that. We'll look later how to format that. That gets into another whole function. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just show here in the middle, this area can be all your calculations and geometric functions. Okay, a double slant is a notation. I can also do multi-line notation if I do a slant star This can all be notations on several lines. Probably moved all that, messed all that up. And then star and backslash. And see how that new value, if you notice, new value went gray while that star was there, and then it went back. And now when I run it, these comments have no effect on the expression at all. Okay, so that's just a real quick example of how to lay a few things out in the arcade playground, and I hope that was interesting to you. And that's all the arcade you can get for a penny. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when new videos are released.